Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we are finally just inches away of God of War Ragnarok. But, as you guys may or may not already know, some people already do have access to God of War Ragnarok. And some are saying fantastic and lovely things, and some people are, well, kind of saying it's a little bit not the best, a little bit too safe, and at the end of the day, kind of seems like a PS4 reskin game. So, we have a lot of stuff to go and cover, because right now, a lot of these initial early embargoes are now coming out. So we're going to talk about this, talk about the details, and kind of talk about some of the controversies and some of the initial early takes, just in case any of you guys are curious on buying the game, haven't pre-ordered, or still are yet to pre-order, or maybe you guys want to get those nice little fancy bundles or PlayStation 5 controllers. And as well, I can't wait to get my hands on it very, very soon. So as well, as we kind of do a deep dive into this one and give you guys all the nitty-gritty, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. As well, for the $500 giveaway for either a PS5, Xbox, or just $500 cash, we have the Twitter and Twitch room down below. You also have the Target links, Amazon links too, and let's go and dive into the video. Now, as usual, I'm someone who likes to go push into the good rather than bad, typically, but I kind of want to go and start off with the bad into the good first and foremost. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys would probably go and realize that God of War Ragnarok will probably be a very, very similar predecessor to its, well, prior counterpoint, and for some people that may be good or may be bad. I myself, I think more of the same when the same was good is usually a pretty good concept. I'm usually a fan of, like, having sequels, movie sequels, etc., as long as they're not too much of the same. There's a few different changes or quality of life changes or FPS changes or accessibility changes, or in terms of like movies, TV shows, like different plots, different etc. Now, for me, I love the first God of War. I think a lot of folks did. And that's kind of like I think where I'm going to lean towards on this one, where my review is if it's going to be pushing towards a brand new game with a brand new style and, kind of the same combat and story, story continuation, I'm going to be okay with it, as long as there's obviously a different plot with a different game, and as well more of a conclusion and just more different stuff, a little bit more, a better game, better graphics, better frame rate, better loading times. You give me like basically God of War 2018, but a little bit better, I'm down with this. But first, let's go start off with like the kind of negative reviews on this one, where we have an article over here from Gene Park discussing this, saying that Ragnarok's opening hours only are pointing to a safe God of War sequel. Now, once again, depending on the context, that might be good or bad. Some folks may actually kind of say they want a little bit more. So God of War Ragnarok is a sequel that plays it safe, at least in its opening hours, while the 2018 reboot upended the series formula. 2022 game is basically about pushing that formula as far as it can go, but within the bounds of the remaining playable on the PlayStation 4. That means that, again, for the first several hours, Ragnarok feels very much like a PS4 game that's been ported to the PlayStation 5. It evidently does not take full advantage of Sony's highest-end current technology, which is kind of a big critique because a lot of these games, such as Horizon, could be potentially held really far back because you also have to optimize and have the game being very similar playstyle to the PS4. Now, obviously, like some people don't mind it because it's a new story, or some people may not even have a PS4 or PS5 and they're still stuck on the PS4. So at the end of the day, I understand why Sony does it, and as well why there's different types of options, but that is a big critique. So the embargo decreed by PlayStation means they can't talk about the rest of the games, only the first few hours, which becomes a little bit more interesting pretty quickly, but that's about as much as I can go and write. You'll have to wait until the review as well of what like a lot of people are going to be talking about it. A lot of people are going to be making articles on it. I'm going to probably be making YouTube videos on it too as well, but a lot of folks are focusing on the very first initial few hours, probably the first 6 hours or so based on how embargoes go. So basically it just seems like the immediate follow-up for the 2018, a lot of people are saying it's kind of good. There's a little bit of deviation from what the game has achieved in the combat, level design, and pacing, so I would say good stuff. A little bit of 2018, but like a little bit more extra spice, a little bit extra pepper thrown on top, and it kind of seems like the next season of a nail-biting prestige show, except for they waited for 4 years to go and do it. So a lot of the big things and kind of critiques, and although they're good, are on the same boat of just it's more of the same. More of the same good, obviously, but more of the same, which I think is a pretty good valid critique. So Ragnarok plays just like the predecessor. One long tracking shot, lots of walking and talking and solving environmental puzzles, punctuated by arenas filled with bad guys to go rip apart. And this is kind of, I think, the biggest critique. It also very much feels like a game built first for the PlayStation 4, which makes sense too as well based on how Horizon was, and that's not really what I want to go and hear off initial reviews. I more so want to hear like it's built for the PlayStation 5, and it was kind of a PS4 side tie-in too as well. So the PlayStation 5 features that good SSD that makes basically loading screens super quick and easy, and essentially the gameplay elements that hide when the console's loading, they want to make sure to try to avoid that because obviously you have the SSD for it. And then God of War, this often came in the form of squeezing through cracks in the walls and other kind of nifty kind of workarounds. So for the first several hours, Kratos and his son Arturus slide through several cracks and several walls at virtually every in-game location. The first disguised loading screen happens less than even just a half hour in, while Sony first revealed Ragnarok as a PS5 title. Spending 1 hour with the game makes it loud and clear that it was designed first for the PS4. And this is another kind of, I think, good critiques to call out. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it kind of goes to show that like a good game that's at 80% could realistically could have been like a 100% if it was fully built for PS5 first, PS4 in second. So a lot of folks are saying like that's just disappointing. I saw other articles and tweets also mentioning this too as well, and it kind of goes to show that like it's kind of soft locking the game, and I'm sure after a while it becomes kind of apparent. And at the end of the day, I mean, as long as it segues fine and it loads fine, etc., I'd rather still have that than like a 30-40 second loading screen back in like the old school Skyrim or Fallout days too as well. So basically a lot of these types of things too is kind of locked in. They're kind of saying that they're still like locked in these linear mines and connected by these hidden load-in times, and everything else is weird, and like it does kind of seem like it's a valid critique, and I think this should be kind of taken to heart. I don't think this will stop me from playing the game. I don't think this is going to stop me from enjoying the game, but maybe after the whole entire process and I kind of reflect back on it, and especially after I saw and played games like Ratchet and Clank that are seamless as all heck, I might go critique that a little bit too as well. Plus also the same idea that it's not necessarily as open world and it's still more of that linear progression. I like that in the first game, but that was also 4 years ago. I wonder if it's going to feel a little bit too landlocked right now if I'm inside that vibe. Very good critiques, though, as of now. So oftentimes the game will make you forget about the generational holdovers, particularly during an action-packed opening sequence that involves, like, shedding through the most impressive, detailed snow environments ever made, which is good. Like, the environment, the characters and stuff that we're going to be looking at and watching at are apparently good. That's good stuff to see. But when the game gives the player control, it's largely through, like, funnels, arena, and puzzle rooms, just like the 2018 game, which I still think I enjoyed the 2018 game, but I can definitely see how you almost want to have a slightly different game flow and a slightly different variation. But some people might say the opposite, where it's like, hey, it's the same game, let's just make it, if it was good, let's just make it good and a little bit better too as well. There also is like at least some good stuff too, tied in with more diverse animations and more feel and more variety when it comes to the 2018 game, and Kratos retains his chains and axe too, so it has that continuality going on, which is also good for a sequel. The animation did feel a bit repetitive on the prior games, and then Ragnarok made the game feel a bit more beautifully choreographed, which is a big change I wanted to have. Same with like the brand new shield combat too, and the shield effects, and also just better environments, better loading times, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of this type of stuff, although it's kind of being like kind of pushed as kind of somewhat bad, at least there are different types of things. So a lot of people are saying the gameplay feels familiar. The story is immediately gripping, which I care, I think, a little bit more about the story, especially for a God of War game too as well, and it catches the audience. So it's still, there's gonna be critiques, maybe kind of rough, maybe kind of bad, like in terms of like the judgments on it, where I think those are valid critiques, but it does kind of seem like a lot of these big things are, well, very, very good too on top. It's like a lot of the review is just like, hey, we'll have to go and see how the rest of the game kind of goes. We're gonna have to see how the ending goes, how the story goes, if there's more progression as well. But so far, it does seem like some folks are kind of iffy on it off the initial more of the same. Once again, though, I'm more on the mindset of, I kind of like that. And we also had other articles too, such as Push Square, that said like this is basically the PS5 and PS4 at its pop, and this is just more of a positive review saying like there is so much that they love, so much that they enjoy the game too as well, and that PS Studios are one of a kind when it comes to their gameplay. And as well, this is what I think a lot of folks are keep on saying. Like if you really liked God of War 2018, you're gonna probably like this game because it's more of the same, but slightly better load times, better animations, more features, etc., etc. But if you want like that, like, hey, like sometimes you're like, hey, I waited 4 years for this game, and prior God of War was a really big change up and really different. This is just more of like no major leaps and bounds, etc., or not as much open world, which I know throughout the past 5 years or so has been a little bit more prevalent too. I can see how people can be disappointed too as well. But a lot of people are saying like, bro, this has been so worth the 4-year wait, that this is no slouch in the department. The first few hours are good and really, really good. And even these people are saying, yeah, the previous one was like a brand new revelation, but this is just building from the same blue point. So even this, that means you should expect more of the same. So as we're kind of seeing through almost all this type of stuff, it does make sense that there is going to be critiques, and some people may not enjoy this too as well, but a lot of people are saying that at least the initial reviews are good, and I think the worst review so far is that, while it may be kind of bad in critique in terms of new and creativity, at least at the end of the day, a lot of people still enjoy the, well, new version, nonetheless. So give me your thoughts and comments. I'll definitely give you guys more of a deep vibe when it comes on out, and I would love to hear just your thoughts, as well as make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as as well for the $500 giveaway for the PS5, Xbox, or just the cash itself. Twitter and Twitch stream for bonus followers too, and we also do have the Target and Amazon links down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.